After not announcing any changes to WrestleMania for weeks in spite of the growing Steve Corino crisis, WWE are now making major alterations to their biggest show of the year every 2 days. It started on Monday, when the promotion announced WrestleMania would move from Tampa Bay's Raymond James Stadium, with an expected capacity of 70,000 people, to WWE's own Performance Center in front of an empty crowd, which WWE will likely still announce as an attendance of 70,000 people. And now they've publicly announced another huge change in these unprecedented times. WrestleMania 36 will be broadcast on the WWE Network live over 2 nights, spanning Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th of April. This is a historic first, and coincidentally comes the same year New Japan did the same thing with their biggest show of the year, Wrestle Kingdom, across January 4th and 5th. The Saturday broadcast of WrestleMania all but confirms NXT TakeOver Tampa Bay will not be going ahead, which was originally scheduled for that night. And both nights of Mania will be hosted by The Gronk. What is The Gronk? WWE's own press release is still advertising a loaded slate of matches for the 2-night card, including Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, Goldberg versus Roman Reigns for the Blue Universal Championship, Becky Lynch defending her Raw title against Shayna Baszler, John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt, and AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. Those are most definitely the biggest matches on the show, which will presumably take place alongside the already set up Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title, and Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, and the not yet officially announced Randy Orton versus Edge. But before cards subject to Steve Corino, WrestleMania was reportedly a 16-match, 96-hour card. We'll likely see half of those scrapped, like the women's tag titles match, the annual battle royals, and mid to undercard feuds like Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, in favor of 2 shorter broadcasts, as Vince McMahon apparently strongly disliked the empty arena setting at last Friday's SmackDown, which is why Monday's Raw only had 1 4-minute match on. WWE's announcement doesn't just reveal WrestleMania will take place over 2 nights though, it'll also include multiple locations. To which Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso added, each location will be a closed set with essential personnel only. PW Insider has confirmed this is to avoid having lots of people in one place at the same time under the current restrictions of social distancing. It'll also allow WWE to switch from place to place and keep the broadcast from looking and feeling monotonous. And hopefully one of those locations will be famed breast restaurant chain Hooters, after Bray jokingly challenged Cena to a bar fight deathmatch at Hooters if WrestleMania gets delayed, a tweet he's since deleted. Cena himself has now referenced the stipulation on his really weird Instagram, with a mocked up match graphic between the two. Edge is also up for the empty arena setting, telling the Gorilla Position podcast, "I'm excited of what we can do and what we can bring to the audience because, dude, all bets are off. There's no rules. It's an entirely blank canvas. That's a challenge I thrive on. I like to think it's a challenge Randy thrives on too." But Orton isn't so into it, posting a picture of WWE's 2-night WrestleMania announcement with the caption, "Well, ain't that some bullshit? Hashtag let me count the ways." Let's count some of those ways, Randy. Randy's not on the poster. He's angry in kayfabe. It sucks that Steve Corino has forced this all to happen. There's a terrible Photoshop of putting the Gronk on the poster. What is The Gronk? Where is The Gronk? Why is The Gronk? Well, that it's because Orton and reportedly many wrestlers backstage are upset, angry and confused over WWE's Mania plans. Thank you for your support on Patreon in these tough times. Don't have a Shane Cowley, man. According to Tom Colohue, writing for Sportskeeda, WWE emailed talent last week to return to the Performance Center as a base of operations for the foreseeable future. Many of the roster were unable to get there though, due to travel issues and self-isolation, leading to some wrestlers knowing what is being planned and others being in the dark. This meant when WWE announced WrestleMania will go ahead at the Performance Center, it was a bolt out of the blue to many wrestlers, leaving them equally bewildered and, in some cases, angry, with a lot of frenzied discussions, disagreements, and unrest backstage after the news initially broke. Certain superstars are said to be upset at the decision. But don't worry, in these tough times of wrestling shows stopping and Steve Corino, there will always be one constant in the world of WWE news. CM Punk return confirmed. Talking on Cody and Jen Decker's Swing and Misses podcast, CM Punk gave his most teasing answer yet for stepping back in a WWE ring. If the business was right and I had somebody that motivated me across the ring from me, I think I might be able to get it done. Nobody has dangled the correct carrot. As far as people that I've worked with before, if there was a clean slate, if the money was right, I think a guy like Daniel Bryan, I would listen to your idea. If you said John Cena, I'd probably listen to your idea. Rey Mysterio, I would listen to your idea. For people I haven't ever wrestled before, I think Will Ospreay, I would listen to your idea. So Will got in touch. Just an idea, and because we could all use something to focus on to get us through this hard time right now, save January 4th and get some reps in. Help the business move forward instead of being a spoke on the wheel. This might be clickbait, but a great white just bit. January 4th is the date of New Japan's biggest show of the year, Wrestle Kingdom. Punk hasn't yet replied, but he might have let slip how someone else has been trying to get him to return. After tweeting, well, that's one way to make sure Roman finally gets not booed and nobody chants for me. About WrestleMania happening at the Performance Center, a fan accused Punk of begging for a return, to which Punk replied, I'm not the one texting begging for a match with me at Mania. Eyes looking somewhere emoji. Who do you think Punk is referring to? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. Now over to Luke for the AEW Dynamite review. Hope your neck's okay, buddy.
Brody Lee is the exalted one, Matt Hardy is in blood and guts, and Sammy Guevara is my new dream karaoke partner. This is the 18th of March 2020 edition of AEW Dynamite. In about 4 minutes. Like Raw and SmackDown, this week's AEW Dynamite was in an empty arena. But rather than just fill time with archive material, AEW did the exact same show they would have done had Steve Corino not got involved. This started with Cody cutting a promo to hype Blood and Guts, trying to rally the elite troops in their war against Inner Circle. Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega joined him in the ring to address the oddness of this empty arena show, but quickly turned back to the storyline of Matt's problems with Hangman Page. Page eventually came out onto the stage and raised his glass, seemingly signifying that he is on the same page as his friends. This was a really effective way to open the show. They addressed the global situation we find ourselves in, but the segment was more about the story between the elite and Inner Circle. The other big difference from other empty arena wrestling episodes of television was having the other wrestlers around ringside for the matches. MJF and Shawn Spears were placing bets. Lance Archer and Jake Roberts were making their presence felt. Colt Cabana began a feud with Kip Sabian. It gave the show a semblance of atmosphere. And like I said in yesterday's news episode about No Fans Monday, the in-ring action was so good throughout the night that it was easy to forget there were no fans in attendance. And that good action kicked off with the Best Friends versus Lucha Brothers, with Orange Cassidy falling asleep on commentary. It wasn't a perfect match with Trent botching a dive to the outside, but the action got really heated by the end, with Pentagon low-blowing Beretta and hitting the assisted package piledriver for the win. After the match, Best Friends challenged Lucha Bros to a parking lot brawl on the next Dynamite. That wording is key, as Kenny Omega said at the top of the show that with everything going on, we don't even know if there will be an episode of Dynamite next week. Hikaru Shida beat Chris Statlander, Riho, and Penelope Ford.
That is a beautiful name, Penelope.
In a really good fatal four-way, but it still feels like the women's division is directionless. The weak link in this match was Ford, but she served as a good catalyst to start the feud between Cabana and Sabian. Jon Moxley cut a decent decent promo. Look, the car's back. And Jurassic Express picked up a win over Butcher and Blade. The ending was slightly botched, but I did like what they did with Butcher and Blade here. They were in control but got distracted by MJF, who earlier in the match had paid them some extra cash, barking orders at them, and that's why they lost. Dark Order came out for a promo before Christopher Daniels got up from the crowd to tell them the Exalted One isn't real. But a video package revealed that he is real, and it's Brody Lee, the former Luke Harper in WWE. I guess we now know what that means. He cut a great promo with one killer line, saying Daniels isn't the first old man to not believe in him, but he will be the last. Lee then appeared in the ring to lay out SCU. I'm really stoked to see Lee in All Elite Wrestling, but I kinda wish it was as a singles run, as we've seen him in groups and teams for the last few years. With that said, I am very excited to see what he can do in All Elite Wrestling. Lance Archer got a fabulous promo package which saw him beat down a load of dudes in slow motion in this small wrestling ring in the middle of the woods while Jake Roberts watched on from a rocking chair. It was so cool and really effective in hyping up Lance Archer's in-ring debut whenever that is. And I don't really care, I loved this. More of this, please. And the main event was a 6-man tag of Santana, Ortiz, and Jake Hager representing Inner Circle, taking on Cody, Matt Jackson, and Hangman Page of the Elite, with the winning team getting the man advantage in Blood and Guts on the next Dynamite. This was a brilliant story. The stakes were already high, but raised even higher because Nick Jackson has been written out of the match for the Elite. And this was easily the best worked match of the night, with everyone firing on all cylinders, culminating in a fantastic finish of Matt Jackson and Hangman Page working together and even teasing the Indie Taker before Santana rolled up Matt for the win. Inner Circle have got an even bigger advantage now, which they bragged about after the match. But Matt Jackson had one more thing to reveal, which came in the form of Vanguard 1 and Matt freaking Hardy as the 5th member of their team in Blood and Guts. Matt Hardy is in AEW and he is fully broken. So that was this week's Dynamite. In about 4 minutes, vote in the poll above my head to let me know what you thought of the show using these options on screen. This was a packed episode of Dynamite, and a brilliant one at that. And it showed that empty arena shows can work if you just act like it's a normal episode of a show and not treat it like a crux. I loved everything about this show, and I'm super excited to see what Brody Lee and Matt Hardy can do in the company. Which WrestleMania matches have been cancelled? Click the video on screen to find out more, and while away the hours in isolation by watching episode 3 of No Rolls Barred over at Parts Fun Known. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.